say thank you to everybody who's here because I know, so Ariel, what you might not know is that we have 4 artists this quarter and they only had to come to 2 and you're number 3. So it was a little nervous, but I think everybody was really excited to see your work and be here. So I'm so glad and grateful that you guys are here. So hi, Harrison. Hi, Claire. Hi, Joey. Hi, Kaylee. Hi, Andrea and Tristan and Bennett and Deanna and Kale. I'm so glad you're here. All right. So, well, Joseph, yes, the second artist was also lovely. The video is up on Canvas. So if you want to watch the video, you are welcome to. I think I'm going to give everybody just like 30 more seconds to a minute to jump in here. And then we'll get started.
Good.
Let me make sure I don't have any emails from students saying, what do I do? Which is what I do when I don't know what to do. In caps locks. Somebody emailed me and was wondering, who was that? And that student is not here. So hopefully they are able to get here. Okay, well, it is 2:31. I feel like we're a go. So welcome, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to Ari Vance Borland, who's our artist for today. I am just super grateful that she's here to share her experience with us. I am going to request that you guys, you can make like on-topic comments during her answering of the questions, but please make sure that it's on topic. I know that with our last artist, people wanted to share some of their art and would like jump on and hold their art up. Can we wait until the end to do that? So let's just really focus on Ari and her art until we get to the end. And then I asked her and she said she was willing. If you have something you want to share, you can at the end. If you don't, that's totally okay. We're going to go through the questions that we have in the presentation, and then if you have more questions at the end, we'll make sure to get to those. Is there anything else I'm missing? I think that's it. I think we're gonna just make sure the chat is really focused on, like, so let's say she answers a question right, like, I love drawing cats, and you're gonna be like, I love cats too. That's okay, but not like, I love drawing cats, and then you're like, let me talk to you about the X-Files right now, right? Like, we're gonna make sure that we're on topic and that we're being respectful and awesome, and you guys are so good at that, so we're going to stay on topic. Awesome. Love it. Okay. So I am going to just let you jump in, and then you can tell me like when you want me to proceed in slides. And then, oh, one more thing. If you are willing to read any of the slides, please put your name in any of the questions. Please put your name in the chat right now. I know a couple people here have read in the past, and I super appreciate that. So if you are willing to read again, I'd be very, very grateful. And if you haven't read before, I'd love to hear from you. And if no one puts their name in the chat, I'll start pressuring you by name. Yes, thank you, Colby. Yes, thank you, Joseph. That's okay, Ian. I know you did a great job last time, but that's okay. Kale, what about you? You did a fabulous job last time. Are you willing today? If you're not, that's okay.
Sure, I'll do some.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so that's 3. When we get to the 4th one, we'll find another one, or I will. Okay. All right, I'm handing it over to you. I'm muting. You take it over. You let me know what you need.
Okay, sounds good. Hi, everybody. I'm Ari. I'm really happy to be here today. It's really awesome to be considered an artist and to be asked to speak about my art. I don't know what you all kind of already know about me, but I'll just introduce myself really fast. For my job, I work as a graphic designer at a creative agency. So we make ads and websites and all kinds of stuff, and I do the graphic design for that. And I'm also a mom. I live in Portland. I've got 3 kids. One of them's in 7th grade. So but the others are littler. And yeah, I just started making art kind of in the last like 5 years or so. Seriously, like trying to be an artist and making a lot of art in the last 5 years. Yeah, let's dive into the questions. Oh, here's some more of my work. Yes, this was fun to see which ones that you picked to put on here. Yes, kitties. I love to draw cats. The cat pictured here was actually my brother's cat. And when I was visiting him this summer, he got in an accident and I had to go to California to help him out around the house. And he has this like beautiful cat that would come sit on my head. Anyway, super friendly cat. So I love drawing him. Oh, thank you. So artistic. Okay, next slide, please. Let's get right into the process.
So we are going to have Colby, if you want to read the questions for us for this slide, I would really appreciate that.
Okay, so how do you make your art?
That's a great question. I do also want to say just overall, I was really impressed with all the questions that you all brainstormed and put together. They're very thoughtful and nuanced. So this one, how do you make your art? It's different every time. I sketch a lot in my sketchbook. So this is one of the biggest tools that helps me make art is this sketchbook, and I brought it to show because I think it's really important to talk about how like most of the art that I make is just scratches and scribbles and color, and it's not meant for anybody else to look at, but it's super important to me to make this kind of art so that I can make the more finished art that is shown in this presentation. So that's a good place to start with how I make it. I draw a lot in my sketchbook, and I've noticed over the past like 2 years of drawing in my sketchbook that my abilities to draw and make art has just like increased so much. So when people talk about like practicing drawing, that's actually true, as much as it kind of sucks to not be like perfect at something right away or great at drawing. There's something to be said about practicing. So draw my sketchbook. I also, when I'm trying to start a painting, I figured out last year that it's too scary for me to start making a painting on like a blank white canvas. So to start, I usually draw some kind of abstract lines like this. Well, they look abstract, but it's actually me just like drawing the chairs and stuff in my bedroom here. And what that does for me is it helps like break up the canvas so that it's not so intimidating to start. And then when I'm working on top of it on the cat or whatever I actually want the painting to be of, it's like there's something for me to kind of work against because there's already some color and some lines on the canvas. I think that's a good start for how I make art. There's a lot more detailed questions coming up, so let's go with that. Next question.
Were there any specific ways you learned art that might have been different than just practice?
Yes. I love looking at art, so I look at art constantly, and most of it is online right now. I'm looking at art on Instagram, looking at artists' websites, and when I'm interested in an artist, I try to find their website, look at all the art they have there, like Google for any articles about them, because I love reading interviews with other artists and hearing about how they make their artwork. And that's helped me with like practical tactics for how to get started and actually put the paintbrush on paper. So love to read interviews from other artists. I also have started kind of collecting art books to learn about art, because it's great to be able to look online, but it's totally different to like hold a book in your hand. So this is one of my favorite artists, Kerry James Marshall, and he's been working for decades, but he does all kinds of different art, and art books can be kind of expensive, but if you can get them used, I think it's worth trying to start a collection to have something concrete to hold and look at, and you can kind of see the colors and the details a lot more and learn like, you know, how you think they probably started, the layers and all of that. So Thrift Books is a website that I get a lot of my art books, and they are really affordable, like $6, $10 for an art book. Next question, please.
How old were you when you started making art?
I've always made art. I made a lot of art as a kid, and was always one of those kids in classes where, you know, you have to do a still life or something in your class at school, and the teacher's like, oh wow, look how Ari did this one, it's so detailed, or whatever. And it can be annoying. It can be annoying to be that kid. I think it can also be annoying to be the kid whose art doesn't get noticed in school. But I definitely kind of was praised for some of my artsy ways early on, and that encouraged me to go to art camps and things like that during my summers and in some college classes. I also kind of lost my way with art, so I stopped making art for about 7 years when I had a hard time going on mentally and emotionally, and I just kind of like let art go out of my life. I was too overwhelmed. I had kids. I was really frustrated about like not being a real artist or not being a good enough artist. So I stopped making art, and then it didn't feel good. So I started making art again about 5 years ago, and really committed myself to making art, trying to make art all the time, every week. And now I'm 30, so it probably sounds old to you all, but it's still pretty young. I feel like I have a couple more decades to go with making art. Okay, next question.
Are there challenges you face with creating certain pieces?
Definitely. When I'm creating some kinds of pieces, like let's say 2 or 3 years ago, I tried to make a big painting, like a huge painting, like, I don't know, 5 feet long, of a friend of mine. And oh my gosh, I just struggled with it so much. I kind of drew her in, and then I was trying to paint the colors in, and it all looked wrong to me. And I was really just struggling mentally with it, because that's definitely the biggest challenge for me with making art, are the mental roadblocks that I come across with feeling like this isn't going right. It's never going to be right. Kind of like that catastrophic thinking. And I put it away. So I stopped working on it. And kind of the biggest solution to that challenge that I found is not just trying to work on one and pushing it to be perfect, but actually working on many different pieces at once, so that when I get frustrated with one, I can just set it aside and try to work on some other ones. Because the worst thing that I can do is set something down and get so frustrated and then not make any art for a long time, because that goes into that's not healthy for me. So yeah, when I can move past the challenge of my own perfectionism and work on other pieces, it's often the other pieces that I think I'm just sort of doing in the in-between times that end up being the ones that are really satisfying to make and that get a lot of praise and, you know, attention and stuff. So it's kind of funny how that works. Next question.
What is your favorite part of your art?
I like the beginning and the end. The middle of making art is really hard. So the beginning is when it's like, wow, I have this great idea. I'm going to paint a horse. And I have this, you know, image in my head of how it's going to look maybe. and I start drawing and it's like, okay, this feels pretty good. I'm drawing, like, yay, congrats for me. I get a sticker for drawing. That part feels good. And then the middle is hard because of course it never ever matches what's in my head. And I heard this great quote about this a couple years ago that's always stuck with me. That's like, the only art you can make is the art you actually end up making. Like, it's never going to be what I see in my head. So my second favorite part besides the beginning of making art is towards the end, when it feels like, okay, it's actually coming together. It's not what I pictured at all, but like, I'm so glad I made it. And I'm so glad I stuck through the middle part that was hard. And I feel all the satisfaction and joy and like this belief that like, oh yeah, I am an artist. Like this is a great title that fits me because I stuck with it and I made something. And that part is really satisfying. And then sometimes I share it on Instagram or with my friends, and it's just really, really meaningful to get that connection with other people when they start responding to the work and saying, you know, wow, this made me tear up. And I never thought in my life that I could have that impact on other people. So that part is also part of my favorite. Next question.
What materials do you use?
I love this question. I love talking about materials. I use ink, a lot of charcoal, pens, pencils, other drawing materials like that. So I brought some. I have some here to show you. This is my little toolkit, and it's just small and dirty, but it's what I carry around with me, like in my backpack or when I go on trips. And inside, it's got a whole jumble of kind of my favorite pens and pastels, and a pencil sharpener, which is key. So I'm going to show my favorite kind of pencil. It's called a Blackwing pencil, and it's absolutely the best for drawing with if you can afford it. I think they're like $2 or $3 each at an art store. Totally worth it. It changed how I draw. It's like so soft and perfect. And then my favorite pen is in, I don't know actually which language this is, but it might be Japanese. And I can send a link to you, Alicia, if you want, for some of these supplies. But it's called a brush pen. So I don't know if your class has worked with that yet, but it has ink in the cartridge area and then like a brushy part right here. So you can kind of control where the ink goes. It's really lovely. I love drawing with that.
Yeah, send me a link and maybe I will buy some and they can be our prizes. So in art class, if students finish their assignments, then we do a drawing for prizes. So maybe I'll get 6, and then each class somebody can win one.
Cool. Yeah, that would be a great prize. They're really fun to play with. I also use ink just in a bottle to draw with or paint with, and a brush that looks like this, which is hollow inside, and then it has, I think this is maybe horsehair or synthetic horsehair on the end. It's really nice to draw with. And this is a weird tool that I actually made in an art class a couple of years ago, and it's made out of a soda can. So I can send along a demo too if you want to learn how to make one of these. There's a nice set of instructions that you like bend the soda can and then it traps ink and you can draw with it. It makes all these like scratching marks. It's really fun. And I use acrylic paint. I used to use oils, but I don't know if you've learned much about oils. They're pretty toxic and hard to clean up. Yeah, some of you have used oils before, I bet. So with little kids in my house, it's safer for me to use acrylic. And I just buy the cheap stuff from Blick. This is like the entry level quality, but it works fine for me. So yeah, next question.
How do you make them so realistic?
Okay, I love this question. I have a couple different thoughts about realism. First of all, realism can totally be awesome, and it can be so satisfying to make something look real. And I've noticed that realistic art often gets the most praise from other people who maybe aren't artists. They see something, they're like, wow, you can draw a tree that actually looks like a tree. That's awesome. And they get a lot of attention for being able to do that. But the downside to that is it can feel really limiting in some ways. It's like, okay, the camera was invented in the 19th century, so we have photography. So do we really need other kinds of art to be realistic? From my perspective, no. I don't think art needs to be realistic. I do still fall into the trap of sometimes wanting things to look right or real. And that is not a fun place to be stuck in, because for me, when my art is going well, it's like it's the freedom and like the expressiveness behind it that makes it resonate with other people and with myself even. So it's like a balance that I work on all the time. If I'm drawing a cat, I don't want it to look like a photo of the cat, but I want there to be enough realism in like the line quality that you can tell a little bit, you can tell it's a cat. So I don't know if that answers the question, but if you're wondering just about like how to get better at drawing in a realistic way, the only answer is practice. And I talked about that a little bit at the beginning before I think some of you hopped on, but since I started drawing in my sketchbook every other day or so, I don't think I make art every day, but like a good, 2 or 3 times a week or 4 times a week, I've noticed that my ability to draw has improved so much. So I resisted that for a long time. You always hear like practice makes perfect with piano or whatever, but it's kind of a shame, but it's true. Another method is also making copies of artists' work that you admire. And it's not ethical to like sell copies of other people's work, but it is totally fine for anybody to try to copy someone else's work just to practice on how they drew it that way or how did it look realistic. And you don't have to share it with anybody. You can if you want, but you can just make as many copies as you want to get better at making something look real if that's what you're into. Yeah. Okay, next question.
All right, thank you, Colby, so much. We're going to move on to those purpose questions. And Joseph, you had volunteered next, so if you want to read our questions, you are welcome to.
No, that's not it either. Oh, okay. When did you decide you want to be an artist?
I have always wanted to be an artist, that's for sure. But I definitely didn't let myself think that was a possibility until about 5 years ago, like I mentioned, when I picked up art again and really decided. So I guess I was about 25. I decided, okay, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to make art and share it and be brave and work on my skills and all of that. But wanting to be an artist has always been inside of me. And I don't know if any of you experienced this, but there's a lot of, there's a lot of like haters about making art. There's a lot of people that say, oh, you can never earn a living with it. There's too much competition. There's all this, there's a lot that kept me back from actually deciding to be an artist early on in my life. And it still does sometimes today. But making that decision and trying to focus on the positive of what I can be as an artist instead of like what I can't be. I don't have a solo gallery show yet. That's a fear of mine that I'll never get that. But I just want to be an artist anyway. Even if I never get that, it's worth it for me. Next question.
What does your art do for you?
I love this question. Okay, my art is kind of like therapy for me. I also have a real therapist and a counselor that helps me talk through stuff, but making art is so therapeutic. It's like I go into this other part in my brain and my body, and it's just sort of flows from me, and I feel so satisfied and so aligned with who I am at my core. So for me, it helps me kind of like get grounded in who I really am. And that person loves color and lines and playing with texture and all that stuff. So yeah, what it does for me is connect me to my deeper, truer self. And that's definitely the main purpose of what art does for me. It makes me really happy to make art. It doesn't make me so happy to think about my art and like judge it and critique it and try to show it to other people and see how many likes it gets and all that. Like that part is a little dicier, but the part that it does for me that's so satisfying is making me feel whole. Okay, next question.
What is your inspiration to make this type of art?
That's a really interesting question. My inspiration, this is the only kind of art I can make, like I've tried to make a lot of other kinds of art, and I have to show something to you guys. When 5 years ago, when I started painting, I bought this book, How to Paint Like the Old Masters. And I was like, so sure, okay, I'll just go through this book. I'll learn how to paint like the old masters, like, Da Vinci and those old white guys who are dead. It's like, okay, once I get this figured out, I'm going to really be an artist and I'll just like have it all figured out. Well, that didn't work very well because that's painting like how these people painted in their time period and with their lives going on. And, they had patrons who supported their art practice and bought all their supplies and all that. Okay, so yeah, like the Mona Lisa, So I can't paint like them. I can only make art that I can make, which is within the context of my own life, being super busy. Like I don't have a studio space. I make art in my bedroom. I make art with the supplies I can afford. So that's kind of, I wouldn't say it's inspiration that makes me make this kind of art. It's kind of like all of the tools and abilities that I have, and the way that I make art is a lot about trying to get inspired by my own like way of moving my hand on the paper. So I guess maybe it's kind of corny to say like I inspire me to make art, but that's really the truth, is that when I'm most inspired is when I'm most connected with myself and when I believe in myself to make art, and then I can do it in a free way that feels true to myself. Next question.
Thank you real quick, just thank you for saying that. And, we talked a lot in our first couple weeks about growth mindset and also about style and unique voice. And that, for you guys, the artists, whether they're visual arts or they're singers or they're actors, or even if they're athletes, the ones that you love the most are the ones with those unique voices that like make you feel things from the art or the performing that they do, right? And so I love that you said that, because when we do get those voices in our head, and I know a lot of my students struggle with that of like, well, I'm not good enough, or it doesn't look as good as someone else's. Like you're looking for those unique voices and styles that are coming out of you. So I really, really loved that you said that, and it wasn't just me saying that over again.
No, it's not just you. It's so true. It's so easy I compare myself to other artists all the time because I do love inspiration from other artists, but it gets to a place where it's not helpful or healthy for me to be getting inspiration from other people at a certain point. This is something I'm still learning, but because that comparison thing kicks in. And really what's most helpful to say is like, what do I love so much about this artist? It's because this person is being so true to who they are and in how they're making art, whether that's only using black and white and being like super messy. And I just love that so much. And part of me, my first response is to think, oh, I should make art like them. Like if I love it, I should try to make art like them. But really, the answer is I need to make art so much like me, because that's what I love about this other person's work. Okay, next question.
What made you want to be an artist and why?
I was working for a couple years as a graphic designer, which is still how I make money. And I thought I would be satisfied with that job because it is really artistic. It's, it uses a lot of the same skills as an artist, but it's more about solving problems visually for other people, like to sell products or to make a website for other people to use. And there's nothing wrong with that. I still do it for my job, and I still think it's really important work, but it wasn't satisfying enough for me. And so I decided I need to make art for myself to be fully sort of happy in life. So that's why I'm trying to make it. Yeah. Next question.
How long have you been creating art?
We talked about this one a little bit. I've been creating art since I was a kid in waves. And I think that's another thing that's really important to talk about, is that our culture has this mindset of like productivity, and to be real at something, you have to do it every day, or you have to get famous, or you have to, whatever these boundaries are to be a real creator. But what I think is creativity goes in waves or cycles. And sometimes I don't make any art for weeks or even months. And I wouldn't say I'm in the happiest place ever when that happens. It usually corresponds to kind of like a down moment in my life. But it's natural to go into fallow periods of not having creativity flowing out of you. And then it picks up again, and who knows why. And then it's like in this cycle of being at a peak of creating art and having all that ability and energy to make it and actually sit down and pick up the brush and make art. Next question.
What is the point and purpose of your art?
Oh, don't ask me that. I don't know. I've really struggled with this question, not just for this class session, but in the last couple of years, I've thought a lot about what's the point. What's the point of art, and what's the point of my art specifically? With the Black Lives Matter movement and everything that's going on in the world, all of the people that don't have food, we all know all the horrible things happening and all the great things happening. It's like, what does art have to do with the world? Because I care a lot about the world. What's the point of me sitting in my bedroom drawing a cat? Why do I do that? Why? And I think for me, the answer is a quote that I heard a long time ago that goes, don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, because what the world needs is more people who have come alive. And all I can do to come alive is make art the most like myself with that unique voice that your teacher was talking about. And when I do that, it actually connects with other people and makes them feel less alone. It sort of gives permission to other people to be vulnerable and expressive and creative in whatever way, whether they're creative by taking photos or making videos or whatever, painting. I think it connects people, and it's a way to be expressive. So we have so many ways in our world to sell things or build buildings or whatever. We only really have one way to express our emotions deeply. Well, not one way, but one major way is through art. And that's kind of the purpose of my art, is trying to express my emotions, my perspective, my world, and share it with other people in the hopes of making a connection. Okay, next question. And how are we on time? How long does this go?
So we're at about 3:04. I was hoping to go to about 3:15. So I think what I might do is have anybody that has questions left put them in the chat, and we'll make sure to answer those first. And then we can have about 5 minutes of sharing time.
Yes, I would love to see all of your art.
Also, if you have anything in going through the questions that you're like, man, I really want to answer that question, this is a good time for that too.
Okay, well, I definitely wanted to talk about all the purpose ones, so I'm glad we did that. Experience. Experience is less interesting to me to talk about because I think it's so different for every artist and it actually has very little bearing on making art in the present moment for me. So I'm fine skipping most of those experience ones. Because I didn't go to art school. I actually dropped out of art school and I'm teaching myself how to make art. So yeah. But the future ones, I did kind of want to talk about something I've learned this week. It's about, do you have any projects that you want to work on in the future? And what's been hard for me as an artist, and I don't know if any of you experience this, is that I have so many ideas for projects, so many, all the time. And what gets me is that I get distracted, like, oh, I'm going to drop this one project and pick up this other project. And then it's really hard to finish any project when I'm doing that. So I got some advice to start a separate notebook and write down all the ideas of projects for the future and keep them in one spot so I don't forget them. And right now I'm just really trying to work on this one project, which is many pieces of work about my childhood and kind of what it means to grow up as a girl and become a woman. Okay. Does anybody else have any leftover questions? Mona Lisa. I don't know. I think a lot of people have painted the Mona Lisa. The original artist was Leonardo da Vinci, but I think a lot of people have made like variations of that painting, but I don't know them by name. Prehistoric animals. Ooh, that's an interesting one. I love that so many people have different reasons for making art, and I love this reason to draw prehistoric animals. Cool. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat.
Yeah, so if you want to share something, can you put your name in the chat, and that way I don't lose you. Ooh, there's a good question. Who are your biggest supporters? That's a fabulous question, Kaylee.
What a nice question. My husband and my family are my biggest supporters for sure. I talked to my husband about like having this dream of always wanting a studio space where I could get really messy and get paint on the floor. And he was like, that sounds amazing. Let's do that. So he supported me we got brand new flooring in our room here. And he supported me in getting paint all over it and keeping it that way. And that meant so much to me. So my family is so sweet. My little kids say stuff like, yeah, mom's working on her paintings, or it's so matter of fact to them that I work on my art, and I really, really appreciate that.
Joseph, I think that we are going to have questions based on our art situation right now. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions before, or if you want to share, just say, Joseph, let's talk later. Let's see here. So Levi would like to share. Joseph, do you have one of your drawings that you want to share? I know, let's see who else shared last time. I have a couple of people that weren't at the last one, and then several that were. If you want to share, put your name in the chat and say, I would like to share. If you don't want to share, that's okay too. So let's start with Levi. Levi, do you want to share with us? And if you guys click the little pin on Levi's face, you can see his artwork bigger. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you shared that.
Wow, that's amazing. I love the expression on this little face. Like, oh, it's so cute and expressive. And I really like how you did the line work is really smooth and beautiful. And just having the color in the one spot on the branches is really effective. That's beautiful work. Thank you for sharing.
Awesome job, Levi. Good sharing. All right, Joseph, would you like to share a piece that you have been working on? Joseph, you added color just like I asked.
Oh wait, hang on. I gotta turn off my pen thing.
No, it's a different one.
Yeah, but I can't.
Mine was lost.
Hang on. Okay, now I can see you, Joseph. Let's see. Oh wow, that is amazing. Look at all that detail and the ridges and the spikes and the teeth. That looks awesome. And I love the colors too. Ooh, okay. Wow, I like how you, wait, can you hold it up again a little bit more? I like how you did the darker green for the legs that are behind to help show that they're like in shadow. That looks really beautiful.
Excellent job sharing, Joseph. Yes, that is a dinosaur. Yes. Any other questions? Any other sharing? Or should we let our wonderful session complete itself?
I just want to say one more thing.
Yes, please.
Which is that I feel so honored to talk today, and I love talking with other artists. So if any of you artists ever want to talk to another grown-up about making art or any questions about art schools or anything like that, I have a contact form on my website. You can always reach out to me, and I'd be happy to look at your art or give feedback or talk about materials or anything like that. So feel free.
That's awesome. I feel like I had another question and I can't remember what it was. Levi, I'm curious what, like, you're saying she should share one piece. Can you? Or can you clarify what you're asking?
Like me?
I think he means for her if she
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, we have
can share a piece of artwork she's made.
Oh, perfect. Yes.
I actually brought, I brought the first piece of art that I made when I started making art again 5 years ago. I'll share that. So this is, can you see? This is a little painting of an orange. Yeah, it's a little tangerine. And I painted it, you can see it's really tiny. And, at the time I was like, wow, this is cool. I'm painting again. I feel really satisfied. And it looks like an orange, so that's cool. Or, a peach, whatever. But I was also feeling a lot of fear. Like, I have to make it look realistic. I'm afraid it's not going to turn out right. I'm kind of worried I didn't do a good enough job, blah, blah, blah. All those voices in my head. And I just wanted to show by comparison the kind of art I'm making now, which is way bigger. And this is my husband. I painted him reading a book. So you can see it's about life size. It's on this big board. And it's just a lot more colorful and messy and expressive. And that's because I'm being more true to myself now when I make art. And so I'm able to paint a lot bigger and a lot more with a lot more freedom.
Awesome. Joseph, did you want to share one more piece? Go for it.
Ooh.
That's my favorite color
That
scheme.
looks cool.
Is like the browns and reds and teals.
Mm-hmm.
You know that.
Yeah, I love how soft the colors are too. Like that soft brown looks really smooth. And I like the darker brown triangles. Those must be scales maybe on the back. Yeah, really nice work.
Yes, Josiah, we definitely want to see Thank you, Joseph, for sharing that. That's awesome. All right, Josiah, we're ready for you. Oh my gosh, it looks very similar. I love that. I love that there's like a connection there.
There is a connection, the little tongue sticking out.
Right?
I like how you've done the lines on the back. They look really like spiky, but also kind of smooth. That's awesome. Quills. Okay, that's the word. Really nice job.
Fabulous. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for looking at student art. Students, thank you so much. Students, if you could all, okay, let's do Ian before we do that. Good job. Last second, Ian. You got in there right before we did it. Ian, show us your stuff and then we'll do something else real quick.
Ooh. Yeah, that one's awesome. I love that. Howling. Go ahead.
He's hungry.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, I love how you captured like the line of the head to the chest. Really beautiful. A furry. Cool. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's not a furry. Don't
Sorry,
call me
somebody in
a
the
furry.
chat said
Things
furry.
are creepy.
This is Ian. Ian,
No, not you. I'm talking to Joseph.
Ian and Joseph, we're not going to go there. We're done with that. This is, you are,
Furry.
yes. Take a deep breath. We're good. Sorry, you're joining in a conversation from last time where we've already addressed that A, there is nothing wrong with furries, and B, if people aren't trying to represent a furry, that's okay that they're not trying to represent that. Done. Okay. I would love for all of you to turn on your microphones really quick and just say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Hasta la vista.
Good job. And then, okay. I would like, just as a reminder, remember your assignment will be in Canvas. I'll get the video uploaded at some point this week. And then the reflection questions will be in Canvas. I think that's it. I think we're good. Thank you so much. This has been.
What are the reflection questions from our last artist?
They're in Canvas.
Oh.
I think they're on week 6. Week 5. We'll see. One of those weeks. It's there. Yeah, I think that's it, everybody. Thank you so much. This has been so like inspiring to me too. And I love just hearing the variety. Like we just like our last artist talked about how they only do one project at a time, which is like very different than how I work and how you work. And so just seeing like the different methods and processes and connection that people have, I think it's just the variety is so fun. And I just am so grateful for you being here. Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for listening to me, everybody. Keep making art. Bye, Kale.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Okay. Bye. Bye, Kristen. Bye, Ian.